Christmas Eve at the Cruising Yacht Club, and we're here with our absolute go-to man, Chris Lou, who's the navigator aboard LawConnect, and we always like to talk to him about the weather because he gives us such good insights, and for non-technical people like me, it's really helpful to understand what's happening. And we've got quite an interesting forecast here. So Lou, we're having a look at the screen here.
Yep.
At this point, we're on start time. Tell us a little bit about what we're doing here in the first few hours of the race.
Yeah, so the first few hours of the race, we're way up here in Sydney with the green dot. We have a nice bit of breeze to be able to get out of the heads, and then you turn the corner, and the breeze is going to be nice and building, and it's not too long between when you get into this downwind mid-teen section and start rocking and rolling in the 20s.
And you're then getting a good rundown. So presumably you're going to be coming, most of the big guys going to be coming a bit offshore and then coming back onto the run line later. What would typically be the game plan for the fast boats?
Well, the interesting thing about our routes, the beginning part of the race has been pretty consistent, that you sort of want to end up at this point because there's a nice bit of current that you can get as well.
Okay.
So you have favorable current and you got this beautiful downwind conditions, and we're just ripping. It's going to be a really fun part of the course.
It's going to be wet and fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what you were saying earlier, though, is that you think that this sort of northerly airstream will actually be a little bit shorter. So maybe just stroll us through to where you think we're going to be starting to sort of get that westerly coming through the strait.
Okay, so if we start stepping it forward, it's like that truism in life, all good things must come to an end. Again, you see the building,
so that's
downwind breeze.
5 o'clock on the Thursday.
Screaming.
Yep. Still there, but you're beginning now to see we're at 8 o'clock on Thursday, on Boxing Day, and you're beginning to see that westerly coming through the strait, yeah?
And you got, at this point, we have 35s, even 40s, and with the gusts, it is full on at this point. I mean, full throttle, total adrenaline. But we're going to be keeping an eye on this part over here, which is effectively the trough or front coming through.
And that's beginning to influence then. This is 11 o'clock on Thursday night.
Yeah. And so we're just keeping an eye on this thing and trying to anticipate when it hits, because it will be quite dramatic, and there's forecasted to be squalls and quite powerful wind on the edge of the front. And of course it'll be at nighttime, so you can't see it with a visible eye.
Of course.
So then we keep pushing it forward, and you see it washes all the way through.
We're at 2 in the morning now, and it's really well outside the strait, and it's beginning to affect anybody coming down here as well.
And so you think about the sea state on here in particular. You'd had the swell running down the coast, and now you have the wind-driven waves here. And just to make it even more of a washing machine, there's also an eddy right out in the middle of the Bass Strait. So sea state is going to be a pretty big factor as well.
Take us on a little bit further, because then it gets interesting down in Tassie, doesn't it?
Yeah. So if we keep punching it forward, just when we've been living in this world of so much breeze, then all of a sudden you can see, if you take between there and there on the rum line, all of a sudden this little bulge of lighter breeze.
And that's just the lee mostly, the effect of the lee,
Yeah.
And that can come quite a long way offshore, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see just by recentering it, there's a little bit of a wraparound effect of the breeze coming through there and then probably some through there. And the problem is, and it'll be interesting trade-offs, that if you want to try and avoid some of that, you come offshore, but then by the time you got it to Tasman Island, all of a sudden you might end up going upwind to do that. And you see, look, the thing
bulging.
Extends out. It almost looks like a little flame. So it gets further and further, and then depending on when you get through there, it could be quite tough.
But this is interesting, isn't it? So this is 1 o'clock on Friday, and this has come massively out. Is that still the lee effect even out here? That's extraordinary. So what does it do? Does it literally sweep off from the western side and then just go up and then just keep going up? Is something holding it up before it comes down this far?
Well, there's all sorts of topography in through here as well. And so, and certainly the models smooth things. So there'll be shots where there's quite a lot of breeze, and other spots with not very much at all. So this will be a really interesting part of the race for folks to watch. And then, of course, when you get around the corner here, Storm Bay is going to be quite a handful. And so we predicted to be quite windy and through there.
And you're whatever you do, you're on the wind coming in through here, through Storm Bay as well.
Likely. And then we have the Derwent, and as we know from last year, anything can happen there. So either we may have too much wind or not enough wind, but either way, we're going to be ready to pounce.
So Lou, what if I were to ask you, what would you think was a sort of a likely arrival time?
Oh, the likely arrival time, that age-old question. To be honest, we have a lot of work to do in figuring out the impact of the sea state and a bunch of other things. So I haven't been too focused on the arrival time. We'll get there when we get there. But earlier in the week, when we had that breeze taking us a long way down, the trips were much faster. And people were talking about the race record, and I think, I don't really focus on the race record very much, but
it's changing.
Wherever we'll be, hopefully we'll be 51 seconds or so ahead of Comanche.
51 seconds will be just enough, absolutely. Yeah. And finally, that first night is going to require some very good steerers.
Yeah, and fortunately on our team, we have some of the best in the business. I mean, we're led by Tony Mutter, and I can't imagine a better driver than him. And I think the whole world got to see him in his full glory at the finish last year. But in the big stuff, you want people that are not hiding from the wheel. They're stepping up and delivering. And we got a roster of really great drivers, with a lot of round the world experience. And, all of our trimmers are very good drivers as well. And so we are really, truly blessed in the driving department, and that'll really help.
When it's really pretty heinous like that, big seas, lots of wind, how often would you be rotating your steerer?
I think that comes to individual preference. Some people might go for a half hour, some people might go for an hour, some people can go longer.
Great. Well, thank you very much indeed for those fantastic insights once again, Lou.
Sure thing.
Look forward to seeing you heading out of here on Boxing Day, hopefully first through the heads, of course. First mission.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a win streak on that part of the course anyway, because that's a lot of fun.
And all the best for what's going to be a pretty fast and wet race.
Thank you very much. Right on. I'll see you there.
Thanks.
All right.